I'm looking at a bottle that actually I had not seen before of Montebello. That is California Sauterne. Dr. Peroni began planting the vineyards for the first time in 1886. And so what did he plant? Clearly, they were planting white grapes. And what those were, who knows? I mean, the history of Chardonnay in California did not begin until, I believe, in the early 20th century. And so I really don't know what grapes were used, but it may have been lesser varietals. I can't believe that it was Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc, which is what would have traditionally in Bordeaux made Sauterne. Because this label, even though I have no date here, no tax stamp that would have been around here, this would have been made, what, in the mid-30s, because it's talking about the Montebello Wine Company in San Francisco, which is where the Montebello wines were bottled after Prohibition ended. Until Prohibition, any bottling that was done here, and a lot of the wine in that era was sold in bulk in barrel. That is, restaurants would buy a full barrel down in the cellar. They'd be taking carafes from it until it was gone and then buying another barrel. So the Montebello Wine Company was set up by the founder's nephew in the 30s. And the wines from here were taken up there and bottled. So that's as much as I can tell you about this Sauterne, except that it's also an example that California in those days was infringing on the Bordeaux and Burgundy names to a great degree. Gradually we've worked out of Pink Chablis. I mean, come on. And actually there's a bottle here that makes me think of that, in that here we are with another bottle from the 30s that is Montebello California Chablis. At least it's not Pink Chablis, but again, a total infringement. And actually in a Burgundy bottle, which, let's see what else it said. Montebello wines, yes, it just says not genuine without the trademark. So these are just marvelous, what they were using in those days. But these were being bottled in San Francisco with our wines. And so moving on, God, this collection. And here we are infringing again, Montebello California Burgundy. I can guarantee you that it was not made with Pinot Noir. There was so little, if any, Pinot Noir in California at that stage that it would be impossible that it would be made with Pinot Noir. Oh, one interesting thing on these labels, even though they're from the 30s, is they say established 1894. So even though we knew they were making wine in 1891 and 2 and 3, they actually claimed as when they began commercially selling wine, 1894. So that's one thing I'm learning from these great labels, God. And here we go even further afield, and we've got a Montebello California Riesling. Likewise, as far as I know, there was no true Riesling in California in this era. So this is just, again, a use of a European name to sell wine. If you go back and look at the 50s and 60s, and well, beyond that, 70s into the 80s, the Chilean wines that you could find in this country were in these little box bottles, they're called. They're kind of round like this and so on, and they were Chilean Riesling. And there was no Riesling in Chile. And there's very little today, but there was absolutely none in those days. And yet here was this wine that was one of the best known of the few wines that reached America from Chile. So it was just this this idea of infringing on the European, the fame of European wines was widespread. And I can see now that Montebello was no exception to what we were doing here. At least the Burgundy was a red wine.